What's up, folks? Andrew from ReplayWorks, and welcome back to another replay review. Today we're going to be doing the Orlando Regionals from December 6th. So this is the Regionals that was well into the GDO2 meta, and needless to say, it was a big shakeup on what anyone was expecting in terms of what was going to win. So we are going to look at that, right? And just to do a quick preface, we're going to, this is the overall placements. Guess what's missing from the top four? We are missing a green-white list from the top four, which is great to see some shakeups because we have red-blue, a deck that I feel got lost in the sauce with all the big blocker type meta. We have blue-purple, of course. You know, blue-purple is a great rush deck. I think it's a little bit better than the one-year war type rush. So we are going to be covering both these decks in this video. Don't worry about that. We're definitely going to go with the first place deck because that deck had a really cool tech in it. For the most part, that tech was like the thing that made that deck kind of work. Or in terms of like have that push, right? And I'll get into that when I go there, right? So looking at what happened in terms of the top 16, we still see half the decks being green-white. All right, as expected, green-white, love it or hate it, it's around, gotta prepare for it. It's a very solid deck, it's a very safe deck to play in a big tournament. So no surprise there that it came back in full force, right? And now we also see green-blue, blue-red, and blue-purple, right? So blue-red had the best conversion because all three of those were in top four, which is fantastic showing, especially for this type of deck. Green-blue, for the most part, was in the lower half of the top 16. So it's around, you know, like the one-year war rush is still there, but I think it didn't really get that many improvements that we would have liked to work out in this set. And we see it lose to some of the newer decks where they get to play with some new cards that do help the deck and do help like what that deck wants to do, right? So, you know, we're not going to cover green-blue because the decks were fundamentally unchanged from how they used to be in the previous meta. Just a heads up, we're only going to be covering the other three decks, all right? So from here, overall colors, green for the first time ever, I think overtook every other color in the top just because of all the green whites plus the green blues. But, you know, we still have white and blue showing up a fair amount with red and purple tagging along as well, right? It's just fun to see like how the which color is going to be the overall most. Like we would have like a month ago expected white to just been like, oh yeah, it's in every deck in the top cut, right? And in this case it's like in half the decks, and none of those decks made top four. Just want to remember that, right? Okay, so we're gonna kick things off with the deck that's stands the test of meta changes, I guess. We're gonna be looking at green white. So it's fundamentally unchanged. I'll say this, like right now we don't really see Death Scythe being played. We see more of the Kira package being played with the Freedom and Ailstrike. Some decks were running Justice, for an example, instead of Freedom, which is fine. I mean, I think Justice is a good substitute if you you don't need to have a pilot or anything. You just get the token out with it. So it's a very good choice just to like have a good late game card to start swinging. Like deck has a like board presence, right? And you can swing with both of them. So this is the 5th place deck. It was playing the Launcher and Sword Strike package. So it's 3 Launchers, 2 Sword Strikes, along with the 4 Kiras, 4 Ale, and 2 Freedom, right? You know, if you think about it, this deck is really more white than green because the only green in the deck are the 4 Wing Gundams, the Wing Gundam Zero, Hero, and then the base, right? No bird mode. This deck does not play the Wu Fei package, so none of that. Yeah, and for the most part, it's playing, what, like 15, 18, 20 blockers, 22 blockers. Yeah, it's almost every unit's a blocker, right? It's blockers.deck. We've seen this before. It's all the stuff that I said before probably still applies. It's just a safe deck, right? So from here, we're going to go a little bit faster. We're going to go to the breakdowns. Here's your average cards per deck. Here's your average cards per level. All right, you know, it's, again, the deck fundamentally hasn't changed in terms of shakeup. The biggest tech was adding 2 justices instead of freedoms, you know. So I'll just go ahead and just, you know, have these on the screen just for you to see that I covered it, right? Because, you know, it's still, we still need to know the numbers. We need to know what the thresholds are, right? It curve out at 4 HP. If they're playing freedom, they're gonna be curving out at 6. If they're playing Wu Fei, they're gonna be having an extra level 5, which is also 4/4, very important, right? Then, sorry, actually level 6 would be not. I mean, Death Scythe would be the 6th slot technically, right? But in this case, we have like, sorry, the level 6 being played obviously is Wing Gundam, right? We know that. Level 7 being played alternates between freedom or justice, depending on if they want to play that in the slots. And then we have the level 8 slots, which is, as you know, Wing Gundam 0 are only 8 in the game. All right. So, yep, that's just there for reference. And now, because I sped through this, because there really wasn't anything new for me to talk about that got me excited, I decided to come with a really stupid game for us to play for the next, like, I don't know, minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. All right. So what we are going to do today, we have all 8. These are all 8 of the deck lists that made the top 16 cut for green white. Every single deck list is up here. All 8 of those, as crunched as I could, are on this list. I'm going to say a hot take after my next sentence, and you're going to have that much time to look at the deck list. Then I'm going to ask 3 trivia questions about these deck lists. And if you get it right, let me know. If you get it wrong, let me know. If you want to skip past this, I promise I'll put a timestamp, because it's a silly thing, and I'm amused, so I'm gonna do it. And if you don't like it, well, sorry man. I gotta do something to entertain myself with these deck lists. Look at them; they're all the same. All right, cool. So with that being said, I'm gonna give you a hot take. You're gonna have that much time to look at these deck lists, in addition to all the time I spent talking, and you're gonna start it now. So I think that the mainline SMT games are fantastic. I feel that Persona 6 is gonna put everyone through the ebbs and flows of what I call the decade of Persona, where after Persona 4 was a great game. It was a very great game. We spent 7 years with Persona 4 being shoved down our throats until Persona 5 came out. No, it was more like 9. Sorry. So let's call it a decade. Let's round up, right? We have a decade of Persona 5 being shoved down our throats to the point when Atlas fans are going to be like, hey, I'm sick of Persona, right? Screw it. I don't care about the next Persona game. They can do whatever they want. We got Metaphor. Metaphor is a great Persona game-esque. And, you know, maybe we're not even that hype anymore, right? Because we got all these stupid remakes. Fair enough, right? So what's going to happen is that as we go out of the mentality of I'm burnt out on Persona, I'm tired of having Joker shoved down my throat every single game, every single crossover, etc., Persona 6 is going to come out. And Persona 6 comes out, it's going to be fucking fantastic. And we're going to be blown out the water. The reason why I say this is because if we go into the next game, Persona 6, with no expectation, with the feeling of, all right, I'm just going to play it because I'll see how they cook, right? If we have that mentality going to that game, then I feel like it's going to be better received. Because if we go into the game thinking it's going to be the next, like, best friggin' game ever that we've been hyping up for 10 years as a fantastic game, it's going to suck. It's going to not meet expectations. That's what happened with Reloaded. Reloaded happened the same case where it was being hype, and then you play it and you're like, yeah, this looks cool, and then you're like, okay, I don't want to pay $35 for the Aegis DLC, right? So that's my hot take. I think Persona 6 is going to be great, not because of anything that Atlas is doing. It's going to be a good game on its own, but because of the mentality of people just being sick of Persona, and then eventually coming around to the fact that, all right, there's a new Persona game. Let's try it. Okay, hot take over. Now then, let's go to the trivia questions. How many bird modes were played? And I'll give you a couple seconds to give your answers. Please no cheating. 6. There were 6 bird modes played in all these deck lists, and they're just being played at 2. All right, let's move on. How many Death Scythes were played? Okay. And 2 Death Scythes. One guy played 2 Death Scythes. So I might have mentioned that people don't play Death Scythe anymore. That was a bit of a mislead. I'm sorry. Um, the majority of people don't play Death Scythe anymore. And that's like for any given reason. The fact that it went all the way down to 2 copies in the deck is very telling. The changes between last meta and this meta, but that's just how things change with this deck. Even so slightly, where Wu Fei became way more better. Okay, last question. Which one was played more, Justice or Freedom? Now, keep in mind, I'm counting the total number of cards. Like, if you add up all the Justices and all the Freedoms, which one was in more? Like, how many more were there? All right, and it's a bit trick question. Somehow, there was the exact same amount. One deck played, 3 decks played 2 Justices, and then 2 different decks played 1 Freedom, and 2 other decks played 2 Freedoms. So it ended up being 6 and 6 total. So it's fun fact, right? Both are fine. Depends on how you want to play against the meta. I think Justice is better against the mirror. Freedom is better as like to stop mid-range type decks. But honestly, it's a really in a big tournament like this, it's really just however you feel, which one's more like, which one would you rather see in a matchup, right? Because in the mirror match, I don't think Freedom can do as much as it would like. I think Justice is better in the match in the mirror. But against rush decks, honestly, both those cards are kind of dead weight just because they're so late. You're gonna get rushed down by then. So, all right, that's my little fun of the day. It's my little not Jeopardy for this TCG stuff. If you didn't get them correct, whatever, it's not really being played for any real reason. Just keep me entertained while I record. Okay, let's move on. We got Blurple. Let's talk about Blurple. As a rush deck, it's playing, as you would expect, a lot of the low cost, the 2/2 vanillas, etc. It is playing Gun Tank Angsha in full force. We are playing Rizal, and we're seeing like the stuff that we normally see in a blue purple deck, right? Gundam, Amuro, Mika, Barbatos first form. We're not playing 6-drop Barbatos anymore. No need for that. Too slow. First form is just way better because it does combo better. You play it down. You can either, if you link with Mika, fantastic. You get that drawback. You get the draw, which gets you back a card from pairing that turn. So you don't really lose too much card advantage with this type of deck. If you have one sitting on the field and you do Gujin, damage it for 1. If you didn't do the pair, perfect. Also, you just takes the 1. It's a 3/1 at that point. Just swing, draw a card. Also fine. It tells your opponent that you really have to like respect that card and get it off the field. Otherwise, they're able to just replenish their hand, right? And what they're trying to do against like blocker heavy decks, aside from trying to go Amuro and Curve, we have Fatal Strike. Early on, like if you just are able to Fatal Strike an Alfred off the field, and then start swinging into shield, it's a good momentum shift where you can probably get 3 damage in that turn just by doing that. And then later on, you have Angsha gun tanks just to be able to like, if they block, like if they block with a Rick Diaz against your 2/2, they're at 1, bam, gun tank, just deal 1 damage, get off the field, right? So you get to try to rebuild your field, have a good tempo in that case, right? That's the real strength of this deck. Okay, so here's what your breakdowns are. We got 32 units. It's a very unit heavy deck because again, rush decks, they want to see as many units, they want to see as many 2/2s, the vanilla 2/2s rather, so that they can just keep playing them early in the game, or it can help curve out the 1 extra resource that you're gonna have left over, right? 8 pilots, Mika, Amuro, that's it, nothing more, nothing less, right? We have 5 to 6 commands, right? We have 2 show resolve, and we have Fatal Strike, and you could probably go maybe 3 Fatal Strike if you want, 3 show if you want, but I think 2 and 4, because Fatal Strike is just that good. You want to always see it in this type of deck. You always want, if you don't have Amuro Gundam, you want to have that on the turn 4 curve just so you can get rid of the blockers, right? And then we have bases, 4 and 5, Corsica, of course, being the de facto base of choice, but You know, I think white base is fine as well if you want to have field advantage, right? So stuff like that, like they all helps this deck, right? Sorry. So now average cards per level, 14 level 2s, 7 level 3s, 8 level 4s, and then we somehow have agreed upon 3 Gujins. That's it. Like I mean, it makes sense. Like 4 seems a bit much, especially when it's not a link unit. You don't have Akihiro to link with it, so it's kind of just like a blocker vanilla, which is fine. Like it being a 3/5 blocker is very big on that time, because then it can either help you stop your opponent from trying to counter rush your field, or it just ends up being like a way to chump block and for you to save some important targets like first form that has a damage on it, or the Gundam that's linked with Amuro, right? It just acts as a big shield, as it is intended to do in canon. All right. Now, for the units breakdown in terms of their cost, AP, and HP, not much changes from what we see. Because we're playing Razel, our level 3 is a little bit stronger because we have 4 AP on that, which is great. 4 AP is good. It's going to be able to help wall break through Alfred's if needed. It does trade with Rick Diaz, though, just, so it's like kind of, yeah, it depends on the field if you want to play it or not. But we're not maxing it out, so it's not a big deal. Right, level 4 we got the Angshas and the Gundams, absolutely fine. Level 5 of course is Guj, right? So yeah, as you know, the only thing that has printed more than 3 attack is Rezo. Everything else is printed 3 attack, so it's very important to know that the 4/4 blockers that exist right now do put a damper in the plan of what this deck wants to do. Now that's just something to keep in mind when playing this deck. It's how do you deal with those 4 HP guys. You know, besides Fatal Strike, we have the ways to ping it. We have the, you know, you might have to do, you know, trade a little guy into them, and then try to just tempo out and get rid of their field from there. It's a very back and forth type, like threading the needle in terms of when you play against the blocker deck with this deck, because it really does come down to, did you get a good curve, and that's what really matters in this matchup. All right, so now let's talk about the first place deck. Because we have a new card, we have Gundam Virsago. Now, in my pile of cards that are next to me, I shall now proceed to read the effect of Gundam Virsago. It is level 5, cost 4. It has Breach 1, so, alright, not bad. It's 4/4 stat line. Its link is irrelevant because we're not playing the Frost Brothers at all. I don't even think they're good. Sorry. And then it has a deployability. If there are 3 or less enemy shields, choose an enemy unit with 5 or less AP, deal 2 damage to it. So, why is that second effect so important in this deck? Okay, and this deck, as you can see, is very. It has the components and the skeleton of what Blue Ping used to be. It's just we just took out the Kshatriyas. We took out the Kshatriyas and we put in Aegis Gundam. We put in Atherin. We also had the Baku, right? Now, we also have the gun cannon. That's a very use case I'm going to talk about in a second. But what we have here is we went from a deck that, okay, you're meant to do the ping. You're meant to be a little bit more mid range. We're gonna do level 5 stuff. And we're gonna try to control the board. This deck says no. We're gonna start the rush. We're gonna play 11 2/2s. We're trying to get that field set up, so that way by turn 4, through hell or high water, if you have either link, I mean if you have Amuro especially, but if you have Amuro plus Gundam or Atherin plus Aegis, you say the words, I will now proceed to wall break you. And I think Aegis Gundam on that turn is way stronger than Gundam, because you can just punch the shit out of the Lifrit that's trying to block you on that turn, or the 2/4 what was it, launcher strike token or whatever have you. You just punch the shit out of it because you're gonna be 4/6. Now, since you're 4/6, you're gonna have like you're gonna take 2 damage. You're gonna have 4 HP left, which is a lot, especially in that point of the game. And Atherin, from his link ability, can attack stuff that's not rested, right? So he can attack active units, which is fantastic. It allows you to not just punch the blocker, but you get the breach. And the breach is important because that breach 3 will destroy the EX base if you, assuming that you didn't swing it before. So now they lost a blocker, you punch through their EX base. You now have 3 2/2s that can proceed to start swinging at face. How many shields do they have left? 3. They have 3 shields left. Virsago now can come in, and at this point in the game, as soon as your opponent goes down to 3 shields, it's just a strong. It's like playing 2 more copies of a good Angsha. Like, because it can deal 2 damage to anything that's 5 less AP. What do we know about cards that are blockers? None of them have more than 5 AP printed on them. The only way to get past 5 AP is to have a pilot, right? Kira plus Ailstrike is 6 AP. If they don't have that, they are just sitting ducks. And by being sitting ducks to take 2, fantastic. Now you can actually keep putting more pressure on the board, right? We have cards like the Baku, the Vesalius that will do support abilities and pump up your 2/2 vanillas to just be able to do more wall breaking, right? Break through. Rick Diaz gets absolutely hosed in this matchup. It doesn't, like, he's gonna trade with a 2/2. That feels so bad, because all you gotta do is just put on the Vesalius. You have a 3/3, and as long as you punch that lift, actually, even it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because let's guess what? If you play this on curve, assuming you go first, you have like 2 GMs in the field, right? Turn 3 comes around. You don't have Vesalius. Okay, you put the Baku down. You can then just support out your GM to make it 4 attack, and then you can proceed to break shield from there. Naturally, your opponent might not want to trade. If they don't, no big deal. You broke their shield for free. Great. Alfred cannot attack Buku. It can't beat it. They'll just sit on the field from the turn. It's actually really bad if they try to swing at it with anything like a Rick Diaz, because you can just play gun tank to ping it to death. So the Baku is actually a very important card because it makes their turn 3 meaningful, right? You can either put down Rezel, which is a great wall breaker, on his own, or the Baku can now allow the 2/2s to threaten, right? The threaten to start the rush a little bit early, and then when it's time after that, I guess Gundam comes in. Regular Gundam comes in. If Gundam comes in after turn 4, it's basically saying I will now proceed to win the game, and destroy your last bit of defense. So it's this deck, on the surface it doesn't look the same, but most likely when you see it in action, it's probably gonna do cool ass shit and then win the game on turn 5 or turn 6 even. The Virsago I think is just there for insurance, because that breach 1 is just, I have a 4/4. If you block me, I'm still gonna take a shield, right? Because we also know without a pilot at that point in the game, all the blockers don't go past 4 HP, Then we have the light type gun cannon. It's a 3/4. When it comes in, it just deals 2 damage to an enemy token. So I find it funny that you can just destroy a Tallgeese with this. So it makes the matchups against like 1-Year War Rush or Blue Purple when they put down Corsica, and then you just answer with the light type gun cannon. It does just hose their entire base. So I'm amused by that. It also does 2 damage to any of the Striker Pack tokens, so softens them up a little bit, right? Not the worst thing, just to be able to do that. And again, they're only played at 2, so it's not like it shouldn't be clogging. It should come out, because if we look at all the tokens that are being played, I think every single if it's blue, it's playing Corsica. If it's white, it's playing Striker Pack. If it's green, if it's 1-Year War, they're gonna have the Char Zaku 2 token, right? So there's tokens showing up in almost every deck at this point, right? So I think it's a good call. It's situational at best, but I think that when that situation matters, it matters. It does help. Okay, so let's look at the breakdown, right? This deck barely plays any commands. And if we just go back here, where's the command in this list? There isn't. It's just bases and 8 pilots and units, right? So the other deck, I think that was just more like I think that just played show, right? But between this, we have 35 units, 8 to 9 pilots, depending on whatever mixes and matches you want to do. Then 4 to 5 bases with this winning deck playing 5. 2 Visayas, 3 Korskas. I like 3 Korsikas because if I play 4, I'm gonna draw 3, so I might as well do something useful with that extra slot, right? And commands, just whatever, depending on the deck type, right? Okay. Then in terms of the average cards per level, again, we want to see all of the 2/2 vanillas in our opening hand. Well, not all of them, but like we want to see enough that we can put them down on turn 2 and just have 2 in the field, right? If you're a rush deck, you're okay going first because then you get to have a really strong like field at that point. So we have 13, 14 level 2s, anywhere between 5 and 6 level 3s, right? Level 3s mostly just being Razel and the Baku. Then we have level 4s at 12. That's when the majority of the stuff is there. And then the other deck that's not this deck and the 4th place deck is just it's your standard Kshatriya ping deck. So it is, I think it's playing Quebly at that point. So actually no, it shouldn't because we had the Virsago. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, I saw level 5 and I thought Kshatriya. No, the level 5 it belongs to Virsago at this point. 6 and 7, it's probably Quebly, honestly, from level 7. So yeah, that's what we got. The deck lists are up on the site, Fragments. So, feel free to fact check me, since I just kind of just went for first place at this point. All right, then we have our units breakdown. 5-5. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That is Quebly. That's 5 cost 5/5 level 7. And then level 6 4 cost 5/4. That should be Psycho. Oh, okay, interesting. Anyway, so level 5, again, we cap out at 4-ish attack if we're playing Kshatriya, which in that build they are, just by seeing this, it goes to 5, right? But the important thing to know is that just like any other deck, you cap out at 4 HP. And 4 HP matters because what does Virsago do? Have 4 HP and have Breach. So he can, if he wanted to, he can trade after you did like 1 ping damage to it. If it had a pilot, if not, Virsago comes in and is, I would say, an efficient way to do well, in this case, it's kind of I don't know how you do the math on like if it's a 3-for-1, but it definitely comes in as a big deterrent because again, 4 HP matters. 4 HP is the threshold. Even if he suicides off, it doesn't matter because he came in and did 2 damage or something. He probably killed a vanilla. So for Sago, it's one of those cards that really was slept on and showed up in this regionals to be fantastic. So got nothing but good things to say. Yeah, that's it for the red-blue deck. I mean, going for this, I think we're going to see a lot of decks try to emulate this style of play. I think this rush deck, honestly, is very solid. I think more so than the blue-purple deck, if this deck draws the right curve, I think it just wins. It just wins on turn 5. There's really nothing that can stop it. I mean, yeah, so we had to get really lucky with Burst to like even try to like stand a chance against it. So not surprising why this deck was able to win against the sea of decks that don't do anything until after turn 5, right? Because the game doesn't even go that far. It can't even play Wing Zero if they just die, And if all they're doing is playing blockers early game, guess what? This deck is able to deal with these block. Oh my god, it kills the ward. Virsago kills the ward. Sorry. It just destroys all these, all the blockers that sit there for turn after turn, right? They're putting down 1 blocker, you're putting out 2 units. So at a certain point, something's gonna break that wall of blockers, which is your link units in this case. So you draw the links, game should be over. All right, so that's it for the regionals, and my fun little test of this weird ass trivia game because I need to be entertained by these green-white decks. Yeah, if you had a chuckle at that, let me know. If you didn't like that, let me know. If you skip past it, don't worry about letting me know. It's fine. But that is it for the regionals. It was great to see a color that even I wrote off, and a card that was like probably like $2 or something, be a real key component in the deck. Now, as we go into set 3, are we gonna see any new things pop up? Maybe at local levels. It's just some people that cook, but yeah, I think set 3 is gonna be where we start to like have the power start to flow into the game. So I'm definitely excited to see what we're gonna see in that meta. God knows I don't know what to build going forward, but I think Gundam's in a fun spot where there's still surprises. It's not just as like, it's easy to say that, oh, we're in a block of meta, we're just sitting here, and green white's just running around doing whatever it wants. It's not that's like a general consensus, sure, but it's not the end all be all for this type of game. I feel like there's things that can come in and shake things up when things are a little bit too stagnant still, that just need a little bit of experimenting, right? I think Virsago is definitely one of those cards that helps me reinvigorate that theory. But okay, I rambled too long. I'm gonna wrap up here. Just want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.